Sunday and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited for the content of this video. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So I am excited to be a primary care doctor. I love having long-term relationships with my patients, providing preventative care, and then also coordinating their care with multiple specialists. So I wasn't always interested in this career. In fact, I actually took a 180 halfway through residency about this time last year, actually. And during this time of transition, it was very stressful and very confusing. And I wanted to share my story and my thoughts on pivoting in life. And I want to do this while taking you guys on a typical Sunday routine. Hey guys, so I'm here gonna get my eyebrows done at Kaya Threading. They're awesome, but I want to do a quick before and after. So before, ta-da! I hope that was noticeable in the transition. There is nothing quite like a brown girl who just got her eyebrows threaded. Anyway, so I just wanted to do the first part about this video in my car while I decide whether or not I want to go and make the trek to the Huntington Garden, because it's like 3:16 right now. The garden closes at 5. I mean, it'll take me like 15-ish minutes to get there from here. Whatever. Alright, at the end of this video, I will decide. But anyway, so I was dead set on gastroenterology coming into residency, and so I threw myself into as many research projects as an intern. And it wasn't until I was facing burnout as a second year and was deeply entrenched in my projects when I started to question if this was truly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So the questioning started when I was doing my literature review for one of my research projects I was in. And that's when I realized that I was gravitating more towards the research that was more preventative in nature. So for example, like with inflammatory bowel disease, I was more interested in the types of dietary patterns associated with preventing IBD flares rather than the actual medicine and immune therapy used to induce these patients into remission. And far more interested in the preventative techniques than So this question really led me to examine, like, what part of medicine was it that actually gave me energy? You know, was it the preventative side or was it the treating/intervention side of medicine? And in my case with GI, this was a very important question to ask myself or anyone who is contemplating this kind of field, because GI or gastroenterology is it's a proceduralist field. You know, you are doing endoscopies, you're doing colonoscopies, you're doing a bunch of interesting endoscopic techniques to take out large polyps, to treat GI bleeds. So you're doing so many things. So that's going to be a huge part of your practice if you're going to be a GI doctor. And yes, with gastroenterology, there is an outpatient component, and in some areas you can have continuity, you know, like especially with folks who have like some motility disorders and patients with IBD, for sure there's continuity. And so this got me thinking, you know, am I really interested in the inpatient part of medicine or the outpatient? And if I like one more than the other, could I tolerate dealing with the other? So this line of questioning led me to realize that I value outpatient medicine and I don't enjoy inpatient medicine. And one part of me realizing I don't like inpatient medicine is I don't really enjoy emergent situations. And that is really important to a GI, because although not all the things you're dealing with are emergent in nature, at the core, one of the bread and butter with GI is dealing with GI bleeds. And GI bleeds, especially upper GI bleeds, are emergent in nature, and they require you to come into the hospital at any time of the day to treat these people and save their lives. So I had to reconcile the fact that if I was going to go forward with GI, that is going to be a part of my lifestyle, you know, whether or not, even if most of what I was doing was actually outpatient in nature, the reality is I'm going to be on call every now and then, and that call is going to involve these emergent situations. That's just the reality of it. And that brings me to my next point, which is realizing that the bread and butter of GI is something that I don't like. And I had to finally admit to myself that I did not really find that part interesting. And that was a huge problem because, although I could specialize in gastroenterology and become a motility specialist, I could become an IBD specialist, a hepatologist, what have you, but even though I specialize, a large part of what I would be doing, even though I could specialize, I would still have to deal with that bread and butter from time to time, actually pretty frequently as a gastroenterologist, and that's not something I envisioned for my career. So that was something I really had to reconcile with myself. All right, so that was part one of why I decided to be a primary care doctor and not be a gastroenterologist. So stay tuned for part two, which will happen probably at my humble abode because it is it's 3:28. Okay, so it's basically 3:30. It doesn't make sense to go to the the Huntington Gardens for just an hour, so it's fine. Maybe I'll go tomorrow, we'll see. But stay tuned for part two. Bye! I'm all set up here. I got my pumpkin soup and a little bit of toast for my little snack before I have my dinner. But I'm glad that I came back home because really living in Los Angeles, you realize that if you're gonna go out for the day, you really can only do one thing and then come back home before the rest of the day gets away from you. It's good. I don't know if you guys are like me and you like to actually mix your pepitas inside your butternut squash soup. Okay, part two. For the first half, I talked about the core reasons as to why I made this pivot from gastroenterology to primary care. The reasons why I wanted to be a doctor did not align with that of a gastroenterologist. I loved the outpatient medicine. I wanted to have long-term relationships with my patients. And then finally, I just admitted to myself that I really wasn't too interested in the procedure part of being a GI doctor. Learning all the ins and outs of endoscopy, just so I can ultimately be a GI doctor that primarily does outpatient things and has long-term relationships with my patients and talks about preventative stuff. It just didn't make sense for me to do all the extra training. But this next part is a little bit, I don't want to say sensitive, but it's very different from person to person. Everyone has different priorities, and if anything, this is just food for thought for you to figure out what it is you really want, or how you envision your life. So the next part is all about lifestyle, which plays a reason as to why I decided to be a primary care doctor. So I'm at a point in life, where I am going to settle down and probably start a family in the next couple of years. So keeping that in mind, I just could not envision myself in that position while also still being in training, because being in training in medicine is very demanding to your schedule. Your time really isn't your own. You're constantly on backup call. So keeping that in mind, I just felt that the lifestyle of a primary care doctor just fit my goals a lot better. And then I also realized that there's so many things outside of medicine that I enjoy doing. Especially as a third year, we have so much more free time because we are predominantly on consult services, so we have all of our weekends off. So I've been, getting into my hobbies a lot. I love hiking, I love working out, especially, going to classes, working out with friends. All of you who are watching this who are in residency and are thinking about specializing but are having doubts, just remember, if you want to specialize or do more training, you have to know in your heart of hearts that there is nothing else in medicine that will bring you fulfillment and joy. And when I say nothing else, I mean being a hospitalist or a general medicine practitioner is not going to bring you that level of fulfillment and joy. Because being in training, kind of like I alluded to earlier, it's a huge demand, it's a huge chunk of your time, and there's sacrifice that goes into it. But I wanted to leave you on a positive note before we go to the next part of this video. So don't ever feel like it's too late to specialize or too late to do more training, because people go back into fellowship at all ages, and you've seen this. I'm sure all of y'all who are in training right now, whether internal medicine, general surgery, it's people in their 40s, 50s who are suddenly wanting to change their field, and they go back into school and they do it. And even outside of medicine, you see this all the time. Granted, it is hard, yes, but you know what? Life is hard. So I believe in you. If you want to make that change in your life, you can at any point. For example, my mom was actually an OBGYN before she made the pivot and became an infectious disease doctor. And she actually had to go back into residency in her late 30s, and then she became an infectious disease doctor at the age of 40. So don't feel like it's ever too late, or don't ever feel like it's now or never. Okay, so I am going to enjoy the rest of my butternut squash soup, which, it looks kind of gross right now because I mixed all the pepitas in it, but it is very delicious. So I'm going to enjoy this, and then I'll see you back again for the final part of our video. Bye! Such a vibe. So I have my ginger tea out here, and I thought I would close out this video with the final portion, which is talking about pivoting in life. So pivoting in life is tough. Honestly, I made my decision pretty quickly, but I think the hardest part was convincing those around me to believe in the decision I made. So my colleagues, my mentors, my partner, my family, they were all skeptical. And I kept saying that, I kept getting caught in that mentality that, I think I'm leaning towards primary care, but I'll keep my options open, which was honestly such a mistake. I should have just went with my gut. But some of the things that helped me in the pivot was definitely talking to my family and just, laying down my thoughts and hearing their feedback, and having them just be a rock for me and a source of guidance through this difficult time. I also journaled a lot too, and also I also just immersed myself in this field of lifestyle medicine with starting my YouTube channel and my blog, and honestly that helped me to solidify that this is definitely the right choice I was making, because I found so much joy in doing all of those things. So looking back, I have no regrets about my decision. I really don't think there will ever be a time in the future that I might go back to gastroenterology, but who knows, we as humans are always changing, always evolving, so never say never. So if I could go back in time to when I first made this decision, about a year ago this time, I would definitely advise myself to sever ties with my research projects sooner, because that was honestly a major source of stress that went on way longer than it should have. So I continued to present at conferences, and I pushed through, hundreds of chart reviews months after I had made my decision. And therefore this I'll keep my options open mentality just added way more stress than what it was worth. So once you realize how precious and valuable your time is, it's really hard to justify spending it on something that doesn't really align with your career goals. So anyway, before I close out this video, I just want to go over some take-home points from what I talked about. So first is self-reflection is key. So regularly assess, what truly energizes you in your career. Number 2, don't fear change. So it's never too late to pivot, and your path can always evolve. Number 3 is prioritize your well-being. Make lifestyle choices that align with your personal and professional priorities. Number 4 is communicate openly. Discuss your thoughts and feelings with supportive people in your life. And then number 5, value your time. Recognize when to move on from projects that no longer align with your goals. Okay, it's starting to get very pleasantly breezy out here, which I feel like will not do well with the audio, so I hope I can hear this. But anyway, if you guys like that video, please like and subscribe. It really supports my channel. I will do my best to upload every week. All right, thanks for listening. See you in the next video. Bye.